Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the five key differences in Mandarin learning or in English learning if you come from the Sino-Tibetan side. The five key differences is what I discovered. I have never ever heard anybody else teaching either English or Mandarin to talk about that. So I believe it's quite unique. Those five differences, you may call it subtleties. You might heard somebody who speak pretty or sound pretty fluent in either Chinese or Mandarin. And they are always wondering why I cannot speak like native speakers, either English or Chinese. They go everywhere to ask people, can you tell the difference? Am I a native speaker of that language? You might hear something like that. Well, those five differences will tell you why you sound different from the native speakers. It's not only that you learned how to pronounce the sound, the consonants, the vowels, and everything else. You can speak fluently? Yes, of course. After practice for a while, you can. But you don't sound like a native speaker. And you don't know why. I'm telling you, this is probably true. Think about that. Don't take my word for granted. Okay? You can, you think about that, see if they are, and if you did it this way too. I believe you do, because your primary language, either English or Mandarin. When you know only one language, you are monolingual. You don't know the other world. What's it like on the other side of the world? I remember when I was a student, when my teacher at primary school, middle school at that time, first one, when our teacher taught us long live Chairman Mao for foreign language, I had a lot of questions. I wanted to ask the teacher, what is a foreign language? Why they speak differently than ours, than us? And how can they live with a foreign language? I have many questions I remember at that time. But the teacher, I don't remember what she said. Either cannot answer me or doesn't know how to answer me. In one word, I need a series, very much so. In many years later, when China started to have universities opened by Deng Xiaoping, I was fortunate enough to got into one of the Chinese universities, into the foreign language department. But even there, I still started to have a lot of questions about theories. The teacher just taught you whatever they know, starting from the sound, the phrase, or words. They never ever give you a whole picture. What is the front? What is the future? After you learn it for, let's say, 3 months, half year, 1 year later, what state you will be? They have no idea. Let alone 1 week or 2 weeks after you try some new method. Nobody ever talk about that. I remember at that time we have the teachers from New Zealand and later from UCLA. Oh no, not UCLA. From America. but they just taught you how to do conversation. They don't have theories. I don't know, probably I'm different from the rest of the learners. I was very much eager to have theories. You have to tell me what's ahead of me in my learning, what curve I must go through, and what difficulty I must face, what's the challenge ahead of me. There are so many methods. We were taught to converse with each other, to read books, to listen to radio, to tape, to talk to the teacher, to do reading, many different methods. Which one is effective? Which one is not? And a lot of students started to recite the whole new concept in English. You know, the first one, it has 96 small stories. They can recite every one of them, 96 stories. They can recite every one of them. It looks like it doesn't help much. When we have the conversation class with the foreign teachers, native speakers, the one who recites old stories doesn't seem to be more fluent than the rest of us. I noticed that. It's very obvious. So from that point on, I decided we cannot go this way. Reciting ready-made sentences other people uttered, it will never ever come to your mind when you need it. You're always creating your own. This is really a creation. It's something new. You cannot just take one sentence from 900 sentences of American, that book, 900 sentences, or from the English lingophone. No, you cannot. So whatever you recited, you cannot recall when you need them. From that point on, I decided not to do it. And I don't do that because it doesn't help. I feel that way very strongly. And then later on, of course, I found my own method, that is to read aloud. But even for this one, I tried many different ways. How to read aloud without wasting time. To train your controller, to have the concepts in your mind, in your brain. When you need it, it will automatically bring the words, grammar, symbols to come a series of strings called a language in your head. It's not made ready in your head. Think about that. If you are going to start a conversation, do those languages you will talk about in the next 2 hours already ready, stored in your head? That's a total nonsense. They are not. So language speaking at that time, to me, it's a creation process. It's not repetition. Whatever you recite, you memorize the sentences, the conversations. Of course, a lot of business manipulation in that. They want to sell your books. They say, if you can recite those words, or sort of a commercial English or something, or travel English, everything's well settled. No, it's not. It's useless. Anyway, let's come back to the topic. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 key differences between English and the Mandarin. From either side, you can benefit from it if you really want to be as good as native speakers. You want to sound soft, smooth, in many ways like native speakers. Probably if you are smart enough, you can really bury the difference as though you practice really well enough. Anyway, let's try. All right. Let me first open this one. All right. Okay, here you go. Okay. Instant Quality Language Acquisition, ILA. What's the difference? That's today's topic. The 5 key differences. All right. I got a new weapon, you can see here. So hopefully the quality of the sound will be better. All right, instant quality language acquisition, 5 key differences. Number 1, position of tongue after the sound. Many people treat this very lightly. I hate to say that. 99% of learners have a hard time to articulate precisely. Their tongue cannot reach that point exactly. Let me say this. If you started to learn a foreign language after you are 15, your tongues or mouth are used to pronounce your primary language, either it's Mandarin or Chinese. When you come to the other side and you have difficulty because physically speaking, you are hindered by your habit. That's a physical hindrance. You see that not clear enough. You probably yourself feel it's clear, but actually you are not. Trust me. Here is a position. Okay, first one with a triangle, you can see here. Triangle, that's American English. This is the tongue's position. So this one. Let's say for the short vowel sound, I, Jim. This should be at that position. But for the Mandarin Chinese, that's with circle, the second one, it comes to blah, 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 here. It's close. It's here, all right? Here, all right? It's for circle, second. If a Mandarin speaker speaks English, and he or she will utter the sound I, here. Put the tongue, the tip of the tongue here. See the difference, the distance? So it shows you clearly. You physically impossible to utter the other language precisely in your mouth. That's what I call it, physical hindrance. So you have to practice it. That's why I need you to speak aloud. Train your mouth and the tongue to reach, to touch that exact location of the sound that you can pronounce it accurately, like native speakers. Okay? So pay a lot of attention to this. Otherwise, you can never, ever sound like native speakers. You may say, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is you didn't learn, you didn't reach the perfect status. You try to be perfect, right? Whatever you do, you want to be perfect. You didn't, because you don't know it. You think you did, but you didn't. That's the difference. Okay. So, believe I can convince you with this scholarly investigation of the tongue positions, all right? From the 3 tongue positions, your 3 different languages, vowel sounds and the consonants, mostly vowel sounds, all right? They are different because after the year of being 15, you have basically difficulties to switch or to utter sound of the other language. That's for sure. If you were speaking it before the year of 14, maybe from 5 or 3 or even 10, you have less difficulty because your audio organs or tongues or mouths or whatever the part, all the parts are not set yet. When you are an adult, when you're old enough to learn it, you have difficulty. You have to train very hard to adjust your tongues, adjust your mouth, to let them cooperate, to produce the sound exactly like the native speakers. That will take a while, take some time. For myself, I think at least a year before I completely, I believe I don't feel the strain of muscles, mouth muscles, tongue muscles is a problem. That's probably after 1 year. Because I started to learn English, especially paying particular attention to the pronunciation. It's only after when I got into university, that is when I was 25 or 26. So it's pretty late. So it cost me a lot of time. If you are younger than me, you are lucky. But if you will have difficulty too, no matter what. If you are 15 years or older, you will have difficulty, I trust. So try to manipulate your tongue and the mouth to be in the exact position needed to utter that sound. You have to know this. Okay? All right. Let's go to the second. By the way, the 5 key differences, before we switch to the other one, they all show up in different stages of your learning. In your pronunciation, that's the phonetics, in words, characters, singly or in phrases, in sentences, or in articles. At each stage, you will have different difficulties. So I'll talk about this every time when we come to a different stage. What's a hindrance of a sound in words, in phrase, in sentences, or reading the whole article? Why you sound different than the native speakers? I'll talk about that later. So you must understand it's not only at one stage you have difficulties, and when it's over, everything's over. No. You have more problem down the road. You have to overcome them on each stage of your learning. Okay, let's see the second one. Okay, the second one is like this. When English speakers speak the language, primary language of English, they mostly use air, or they depend on the air flow from the throat, go up all the way through teeth, mouth and the teeth out. In other words, they use air friction to sound, to make sound. Friction to make sound. Remember this one, okay? Hard palate, and the tongue and the soft palate. That's the in between, all right? You can see that. But when you pronounce Mandarin, you come to a different feeling. Mandarin uttered mostly by plosive sound in the soft palate part, by buzzing or shaking, not mostly use air flowing, creating frictions to make the sound. So that's a big difference. That's probably why English speaking people speak softly, and the Chinese Mandarin people speak loudly, because the different all part of the organ uttering sounds differently. All right, you have to know that. So when you learn, when you are English speaker, you have to change the habit. Well, I cannot say it's good habit, but it is true. If 1.4 billion people speak that way, you'd better change if you want to sound like them. You don't use the friction of the airflow or stream of the airflow like you pronounce English, but instead use the plosive method to articulate Mandarin sound. In other words, you can say English-speaking people use consonants a lot more than Mandarin people do. And the Mandarin speakers use vowel sounds a lot. It's a little bit less or rarely use consonants. Maybe use one or two. You never have many different rhythms. That's why it's a difference. I'll talk about that later. Okay, so beware of the way of uttering the sound, of articulating the sound. Use the friction and the plosive method to utter the sound. So this difference is crucial. How to sound soft, how to sound harsh, how to sound like a booming sound, like Mandarin Chinese. And well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but that's how the 1.4 billion people speak in Mandarin. If you want to sound like them, you better learn from them, and you have to imitate them. That's one of the key differences. I just tell you that. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next one. This one is the same in different stages, have different influence or different, I'll say, stress. When you utter phonetics, it's different from uttering words. Uttering words is different from uttering sentences or phrases. Okay? So each one is different. When we come to that stage, we'll talk about that again. Okay. Next one. Rhythm and the monotone strike. In English, if you only know English, you are monolingual. You have never, ever in your life speak a different language. You probably are not aware what this sounds like, the monolingual, all right? The rhythm in your language, you will never, ever notice it. But if you learn a different language, learn a second language, you will feel it's vastly different. If you, let's say you're an English speaker, you learn German or French or Spanish or even Greek, they are all in the same family. That is called Indo-European family. They have a lot of similarities, okay? Especially for German people, they almost have no problem. Sound like English people or American, because there's too many similarities in rhythm. But, well, let me say this. What is the rhythm in English from your Duolingo point of view? Okay. English sound like this, like the river does. I think it's Scotland people, and this picture strikes me like the rhythm of English. It's like a da 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 da, or the da 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 da. That's English. All right, it has the rhythm, very clear stress and minor stress, primary stress, minor stress, and alternatively go boom 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 boom, something like that. I just try to make up a few, just to show you. If you read the English words, you have the rhythm. If you are monolingual, probably you will never notice it. But if you learn a second language, you will notice that. Especially, you go to the Tibetan, Sino-Tibetan side. You learn either Japanese, Korean, Mandarin. You will notice it's different. For the Mandarin, it's a monotone. Its basic tone is like this. Boom, 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 boom. Each sound is struck once only. It's monotonous. It's a basic. The way you learn it, the basic sound. Elementary children in China, when they started to learn Chinese in class, they will say Mandarin, one stress, one sound at a time. Boom, 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 boom. It's a sound very pretty, very monotonous. But when you eventually come to the higher stages, even the monotonous can change. Can change, it's not by rhythm, but a different level of sound. How much you stress it, but still one beat, that's for sure. It's always boom, 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 that's for sure. But this sound has different levels, but that's something we can talk about that later. Okay, so notice this. Of course, no need to say when you have the rhythm in word, in phrase, in sentences, they are all different. There's a lot more to talk about, for sure, later. Okay? All right, let's come to the next one. Number 4. What is it? Okay. Oh, this is a continuation of the rhythm versus the monotone. The Mandarin sounds like the clock striking each second. Boom, 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 boom. It's basically it's like that. So remember, if you sound like a clock at the beginning, you are correct. It's a little bit boring, monotonous sounding, but that's true. That's how the Chinese, the Mandarin is pronounced. What can you do? So just go with it. Okay? So the other one, the river dance is an English rhythm you are used to. The Mandarin side is like a clock, sounding monotonous at the beginning. Okay? So remember this. Let's come to the next one. Okay, this one is tonal language versus page accent language. Well, for the last part, if Mandarin is called, if English is called page accent language, I'm not sure. I think probably that's not right. It should be Japanese language or something. But I cannot find what's a phonetic terminology for versus tonal language. I don't know, honestly. So probably you can correct me if you found one. Let me know. Write it down. You can teach me something. All right. Okay. This is from what I taught the Chinese students from the English side. I put there. So let me translate this. For the first one, you see the guy who is throwing balls. There's several two lines. In the middle, there's a rectangle, right? The two lines on the upper side is the highest pitch you can reach. The lowest part is the lowest pitch you can reach. Mostly people will go in the middle. You know, Mandarin has normally 4 tones. The rising, the even, the V-shaped, and the down tone. Well, you are make it simpler. You call it 1, 2, 3, 4. That's okay too. Each number or each tone makes a difference. So if you do not pronounce it correctly, you will make fun of yourself, make a joke of yourself, because you sound totally different from what you mean. In other words, it's like the guy who is throwing balls, and each ball is not corrected. You're going this way when you walk, when you talk. Each ball is different one. Although they are in the same range of your pitch, your voice pitch. You see, they are just minor differences. It's going up and down in that. There's a fifth tone in Mandarin that's neutral or very light. You can ignore it for now. The Cantonese is supposed to have 9 tones. I don't speak Cantonese, so I have no way to tell. For the English speaker on the other side, it's basically a smooth thing. You walk this way, you sound like blowing a trumpet. You make it connected, so your tone won't change much. It's still here is your range of your pitch, higher and lower, from upper to lower. And you basically go like that. So this is a big difference. And when you try to sound like the other side, and probably this is the most obvious thing in talking or in utterance of the sound. So be very careful. The tonal language is very serious about tones. The different tones makes a different meaning. So that's very different. Okay, and the last one. Of course, we can talk about this with different words level, phrase level, sentence level, or article level later. All right, there's more things about that. Okay, last one, the major differences is the breathing. We talk about so many 4 things above. How can you control it? How can you learn it? Is there a master switch which controls everything and combine everything together? Yes, there is. That is the breathing method. For English speakers, you have a deep breath and let the air flowing out of your mouth till you finish a sentence or phrase. Then you draw another mouthful of air, and start to utter sentences or phrases again. That's how you speak English. But for Chinese, there's no this rule. You can stop or utter or change the breathing at any point, anywhere when you talk. So beware of this big difference. For the Chinese side, it's more difficult to practice rhythm, tone, and the organs. by trying to practice breathing correctly. I think for English speakers to break this one, it shouldn't be too hard. I think you can do it because you just don't care. But I don't know. I only know one side because I come from the other side. But anyway, that's just a reverse side. You have to reverse it. I just let you know. Breathing controls everything as you did before for the English speaker. Now, in Mandarin, all hell breaks loose. You do not need it anymore. You can utter any sound and breathing any way you want at any point. Because each word is just one sound. There's no not connected, in other words. As long as you pronounce one word, that's done. You are finished with that meaning. So that's a big difference. So remember, breathing must be different. If you use your primary language breathing to try to say the other one, you will have a problem. You don't sound like the native speaker of the other side, either English or Mandarin, I believe. So 5 key differences you should be aware of when you practice, starting from phonetics, later to words or characters, then later to sentences, phrases, and sentences, or even to article. Okay? Today, let me stop here. If you have questions and if you have different whatever you want to tell me, you can jot it down. And also, if it's helpful, please subscribe. Thank you for your support. I wish it will help you in your learning. Thank you.